Hello again. All the rage back in the early 2000s, the very early 2000s, were a line of Fujifilm cameras, the fine pics, F-401 and F-410, which I have here. Now these were at the time very small cameras, and they both featured a optical zoom of 3 times. Also, you could go higher with the digital zoom element part. In terms of megapixels, they're actually very low. So this 401 is a 2 megapixel camera, and at the time it was touted as being interpolated to 4 megapixels, and this 410 was 3 megapixels and could be interpolated to 6 megapixels, which at the time probably looked really good on paper, but in fact all we're doing is we're filling in some extra space with known data, so we're not actually capturing anything more, and the images that are interpolated are actually somewhat softer than the originals, and they take up a bit more space on your memory card. So the memory card at the time, now this was before the later range of Fuji cameras, which moved over to XD cards and then eventually to SD cards. This is a smart media card, and the one I have in my hand is one of the highest ones. If I can open it. I've cut my nails recently. I've been working on the car, so it's hard to find my way into anything like this. But anyway, this is a 128 megabyte smart media card, and they're pretty funky, very slim, and they slide into the camera, and I'll show you where they go. So in the bottom, and they're both very similar, these cameras, you have a slot for the memory card and a battery compartment here. So let's see if I can put this in. I have no idea if I'm putting this in the right way or not. Nope. Okay, let's let me push that all the way in. So that's located, and also have a battery here, and let's put like so. There's a catch that holds the battery. Just make sure it powers on. So I've got a couple of batteries here. Only one takes charge, which is unfortunate. And I'll just quickly go over with these cameras what the controls were. So we've got a port here for USB. There's a power in, DC 5 volts. Now these did fit into cradles, so that would fit in like that into the cradle. So you've got the button to take the picture on the top. To actually open up the cover of the camera, you slide, you get some nice little lights, and then the lens pops out like so. So you've got your standard flash viewfinder, which is pretty good. So you've got a real viewfinder rather than a digital one, and then you've got the sensors in there as well. So on the back we have the camera mode, we have a review, and we also have video. So video would have been very restricted, and nothing like the frames per second or resolution that we demand these days from our smartphones. So I would say pretty unusable. You may sort of get away with taking the odd picture now and only blowing it up to maybe as far as a 6x4 sort of standard print. I wouldn't want to go any higher than that. And if I show you what we've got a zoom control here. Let's just make sure it's actually telling me I've got to set the date and time. So I'm just going to set it as 2002 to get in the spirit of things. So yep, you can see the sensors fine on this camera. Now there were some issues with a lot of cameras, and if you're an avid collector of digital cameras from the 2000s, probably the mid 2000s is your worst sort of time, and that's because the quality of the CCD sensor, they tend to deteriorate, and it's very hard to find cameras from a certain age with a CCD that still operates properly. So this one does look reasonable. I think the colours are all there, so this doesn't exhibit the issue. So we've got a macro mode, we've got a flash mode, and just a few basic buttons there. So quite a nice camera, a nice size camera for the time, and it would have retailed at ridiculous money. So compared to these days, it would have been very expensive, something like this. But it's got the trademark Super CCD, which Fuji did run with, and they had quite a successful time a bit later on, particularly with some of their later cameras. These would be sort of the F-20, F-30, and a couple of other cameras a bit later on that were very good at capturing images in low light, and were actually good for filming as well in low light. So I'm just going to turn this off. You can see it close up there. Before I show you the F-410, have a look at this here. So this is how you would eject the smart media memory card, and it's a little lever that stands up and you push, and there comes your card. It's been a little while since I opened this up, and I've discovered that we're actually not dealing with smart media card in this camera. So this card is only useful for the 401. So I'll put it over there. So what we have instead of it is something else, which is a XD memory card. This one is quite a large one. It's 2 GB. There were quite a few smaller sizes. There we go. And that one is a click. So that's located in a similar way to how SD cards of the era would have gone in as well. There's your startup screen, and we see a problem. And the problem is, as I said, it's all to do with the CCD going bad. I don't know if you can actually see that very clearly. Let's try to zoom in. Oh yeah. So I mean, this is very kind of standard with what happens when these CCDs go bad. They actually get so bad that you can't make anything out. So this one is still sort of showing something of sorts. So not a usable camera in this case, but this would have used a slightly later generation's Super CCD. And as I mentioned before, this was a 3 megapixel, and it was advertised as being interpolated to 6 megapixels. So it's got a very similar arrangement for controls as we saw in the 401. It's literally the same case. Yeah, the top is identical, and the bottom and the side. It's got a little speaker there. I didn't mention that before. I think we've got... Have we got anything extra? I thought we had extra buttons on this. Oh yeah, we've got a button here. So there is an extra button, and it's a Fuji button. So let's press this. So it takes us straight to a mode where we can change the output of the sensor. So we've got the 6 megapixel, 3 megapixel, 1 megapixel. So let's go for 3 because we know that that is the standard. And should we force it to take a flash as well? Ooh, and there you go. You saw the output there. Let's have a look. And that's quite different to what I could see in the viewfinder. So you'll see that as a common artifact, and really it's probably not worth doing anything about it. Sometimes you can get hold of old sensors, but the years have really kind of passed by now, so it's probably more for keeping as a period piece in terms of the way it looks. And at the time it was a small camera, so this is significantly smaller than a lot of cameras that were on the market around the time. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And yeah, I guess it was probably one of the early cameras which began to endear the public to the Fujifilm cameras, the Fine Pix brand. So I hope you enjoyed just looking at this quick video I made about these two cameras, and I will do some more in the future. Thank you for watching. Bye bye for now.